Audience. All right, let's get Dave Dell'Isola, Labor Director, on to kind of give us an update on the status of the PUA and the FPUC. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Sabrina. How are you guys doing today?
We're okay.
Doing pretty good. Happy that we're getting that unemployment out there. So we'll just give you the floor. What's the latest update on the payouts and processing of pandemic unemployment assistance?
Sure, thanks. The second batch, which is the 36.4 million that was processed, should be reaching the banks today. So you should be hearing about people getting their monies today and tomorrow, depending on the banks and how long it takes. But everything seemed to have processed well and is on track. So we should see that. So that's good news. Today we have a total of 32,732 employee separations from 1,837 employers on the employer module. And we have 28,725 initiated claims that have been put into the system. So things are running well, so to speak. And just to kind of give you a little idea on the work that we're doing is from the first batch that we paid out of $34.5 million or so. 160 came back returned from EFTs because the claimants put in the wrong account numbers or routing numbers. So we have a whole new batch of people trying to clear those up and trying to fix those. And for those that we can't get a hold of or fix, they will automatically be turned into checks and will be processed and mailed out. So that's another small team of people that are trying to clean that up. We continue to get fraud claims that we are finding and are addressing. The PUA email is also finding fraud claims that are being reported. And as we check people's claims and calling them up, they're also reporting internal fraud claims. So we are doing a pretty good job at catching these fraud and abuses, and we continue to focus on trying to get the claims in and try to deal with the problem claims. I do want to tell to the listening public that I do hear the complaints about the 311 and how tough it is to call in. Our staff is just so inundated because, as soon as this money went out, all of a sudden we had another tidal wave of call-ins, and people, of course, knowing that it's real and the money's going out, that they're just want to get a lot of impatient people that made mistakes on their claims, and they're trying to get it fixed. And we're doing the best that we can. Just to kind of give you an idea, as we move farther along, my teams are getting smaller because we're putting out more fires. I got, of course, a team on 311. I got a team that are taking call-in apps. I got a team that's cleaning claims for upcoming payments. Like every time we batch, we want to go through each day and try to do a quick cursory review and clean out those claims so that we can process the next batch. I got a team going back and cleaning those claims that we put on hold from the previous batches. I have a team that are taking care of problem claims. I got a team that are taking appointments of in-person at GCC for apps and at the libraries. I got a team working on wrong EFTs, and then I got a team working on fraudulent claims. So all these teams, when we first started, it was just a team of people taking in claims and answering the phones. So you had like two teams, and now they're broken up into a dozen teams, and they continue to deal with the claimants that have made user errors, that put in wrong banking information, that are calling in and saying, oh, I forgot to put this income in, or I forgot to do this, oh, I put in the wrong date, I put in this, I forgot my username. I know that the problems just keep piling up, and even though we're having thousands of good claims, we're paying out, tens of thousands of dollars. It's going out. I do want to say we recently have started to put in these fraud measures options into the system, and they're of course catching more fraudulent claims, and they're also, as with anything that you put in a bunch of different measures, they're catching a few things that shouldn't be caught. It's typical of any computer program.
Dave, I'm sorry to interrupt. While we're on the subject of the fraud, I saw there was a article about Senator Luis Muñoz, and if you could give us any and all information that you have on this. So what we're able to gather is Senator Muñoz applied for unemployment.
I don't speak, Chris. I hope you can appreciate. I don't talk about any particular person's claim or anything to the privacy. Just like if you were to apply, I would never say anything.
Let me keep it general then. So if I was, to apply, and I've got a full-time job, but I lost other income, do I have to declare my full-time job?
Of course, and that was, I think we pressed that out, and that seems to be a common misunderstanding with a lot of people that are out there, that they focused on, oh, I lost my second job, so therefore I'm qualified. If you have two part-time jobs and you lost one, then yes, you would qualify, and then you would just report your total income.
Right.
So you always have to report the total income. Even your PPP, people say, I'm so confused, do I report it or not? It's income. It doesn't matter where the source is. And if you have a full-time job and a part-time job, and you lost your part-time job, then you are not qualified because you are still under full employment.
Correct.
And that's where I get a lot of calls of people, even at the grocery stores. Oh, I have a regular job, but I lost my cashier, or I lost my bagging. Do I still qualify where I'm applying? And they still, I have to say, if you still have your full-time job, then you don't lose it. And that's why we've been pressing out those common mistakes that people are misunderstanding.
Right. But Dave, where does it go from a common mistake to fraud? So just generally speaking, if I have a full-time job and I go apply for unemployment assistance, but I don't declare my full-time job salary, and I submit that application to you, does it matter if I'm a senator or a janitor? Is that, because the intent to get the benefit is there. So we're talking so much about fraud. So generally speaking, if I was to apply for unemployment assistance while I still had a full-time job, I didn't declare my full-time job, submitted my application, but then later I come back and say I want to withdraw my application.
A lot of
Go ahead.
People that have that are similar what you're speaking of generally, and we get phone calls, we get letters, we get everything. They're saying, oh, I made a mistake, I'd like to have it removed, or I need to change I need to add this income. That is another one of those many calls that we're trying to deal with, is people that are realizing that they forgot to claim, or they didn't understand the program and they need to change this, or they need to change that in the claim. That is, like I say, a very common misunderstanding as they start to become more educated with all the pressers that I'm putting out, and the information that people are starting to, especially with the PPP also. Right. They're becoming more educated. We're pressing out common mistakes. They are realizing their mistakes, and when people realize their mistakes and they call in and they want to make changes, then the intent is not there. And that's what we are forwarding to all the public, and I know that they're trying to get the information out to call in, and they're having difficulties. So the ones that we're looking at with the main frauds are the ones that have stolen people's data and put in claims, those from the states or from foreign countries
Dave,
that are trying to put in claims.
Generally speaking, is Senator Munya on your mailing list for all the releases that you guys send out for Department of Labor, how to apply for pandemic unemployment assistance?
I don't speak.
It kind of just seems like an airhead move to me. I'm just going to say it. It's an airhead move. I mean, it's an airhead move.
On any claims, and I hope you can appreciate.
I totally appreciate it.
All right.
That's why I'm keeping it general. Because Dave, I have a similar situation.
Yeah.
You know, I host social gatherings all the time. I lost a lot of income during COVID-19. I didn't apply for unemployment assistance, though, because I'm fortunate to have this job. And, you know, I can't. So I'm just curious. I just want to make sure, Dave, and I'm sure you can appreciate that I'm just trying to make sure that if a janitor or a bus driver or somebody out there who lost their job or whatever does the same thing that a sitting senator does, that they're not held to any higher standard than Senator Luis Muñoz.
Everybody's treated fairly, and that's why I keep telling you that we don't talk about individual claims. We'll talk about circumstances. We are doing I think, an excellent job, way above average, looking out for fraudulent claims, and we're catching a lot of problems. The fraud emails seem to be working very well as we speak to employees, and we're finding out that they're not qualified. They're very easily volunteering their workers who are fraudulently putting in claims. So, I just want to tell everybody out there that, this is federal funds, and, intent is everything. And if you intend to fraud and steal from the government, then the feds will come after you. If you make mistakes and you misunderstand, then that's where we're going to come in and we'll fix things and we'll correct it. And we're looking at trying to get everybody assistance.
So when the Department of Labor finds that there is intent to fraud the PUA program, what do you do then? Do you file something? Are there any penalties involved?
Yes, there is a procedure for us to follow to file or move any fraudulent claims up to the feds.
Mm-hmm. Have you guys done that?
Disposition. No, not yet. We're gathering them all up. Like I said, I have like a dozen teams, and all these claims that are there are held, and they're marked accordingly. Right now, we're just trying to move so aggressive to get money out.
Okay.
Because that's my priority. We will put things on hold. We suspect fraud. There is a process, adjudication process that needs to be put in place, and that is in place, that we move when we suspect fraud, that it has to be, you just can't just say fraud, boom, and send it out.
Right.
Everybody has a due process. And right now, that process is putting it on hold, putting it aside, and keep moving forward and getting payments out. And I hope that these new fraud measures that are starting to be put into the system now will start to free up those other teams of people, and we can shift them over towards the 311 and shift them into the call-in and take care of problem claims and start fixing those people. Because I know the anxiousness and the feelings that the people are getting angry because they're trying to get through.
Right.
And, I only have a half a dozen people trying to man 311 because I've had to pull people to the other groups and teams. So what started out as 2 groups has now turned into 12 groups.
Right. David, we had a couple of questions in the comments here. One was on the census workers. So we had heard that census workers were, in effect, furloughed for a chunk of the pandemic, and one of them is saying he's trying to apply, but they're being told they're ineligible. Do you have any specific update on census workers? Or?
what I've learned through doing enforcements and stuff like that, everybody's individual problem is different, and you never it's never as easy as, oh, do all census workers are automatically. There are some that are on a on-call basis. There are some that are full-time. There are some that are in various levels of employment. So it varies from person to person. So on a particular case, if anybody was employed and they were not employed anymore because of COVID, and they lost their income, then generally they are qualified.
What about student grant money, or do people have to report that?
Student grant, no. Offhand, I will say no.
Okay.
Like I said, there's too many different types of grants and how it is. But typically, you claim your taxable income that you make.
Also, there was one here. Sorry, Bree. I wanted to inquire if you've heard about a glitch with the Higher Guam system regarding the unemployment benefits, where it's not allowing some people to do their weekly certifications for all the weeks they've been out of work. It will only allow them to do March, and then skips April and May and continues to June. I've tried to call several times and sent an email, but have not received a response. This is concerning, obviously, you know why, because some people will not be able to get their full amount of unemployment. Is there a glitch with her?
There was, and it was corrected, but we're playing catch up, and some of those glitches are also because they put in the wrong user information or the dates. But yes, there was a small glitch in the system that did come up with that kind of error, and it was auto adjudicated and fixed, and we're playing catch up. So unfortunately, I am aware of those type of errors, and they're now farther and fewer in between, and most of them have been corrected. But I understand there's still a few handfuls that are out there. So we'll get them fixed for you.
Okay, we have another question. My girlfriend was trying to send her proof alien card within 10 days, and the site won't accept it. What do we do now?
The site won't accept it. You should upload that, no problem, as with any documents. You can go ahead and mail that alien card or a copy of it to us, and we will take care of it for you. But the best thing to do is just upload it.
Right. We had another one here, Dave. Please ask about self-employed, which you said to imply as individuals instead of registering as employers. It states that it's in review and will take up to 21 days. Also, Dave, another one, if you could just address these. How about those who were processed clean with no issues on June 2nd, but still don't have payment or transfer number?
Okay. The self-employed are always more of a challenge because of the nature that they're self-employed, and we're finding a lot that are put on hold are because of lack of documentation. They just put in their ID and then they say that they're self-employed, but we have no idea or proof of what they actually do, and they have a valid income from that business. So those are the kind of things that they need to, show to us that if you are doing something and you're self-employed, you need to prove either through a license, through a mayor's verification, or something that you actually do that for a living. And then you got to provide some kind of proof that you actually have an income, because you have to have. If you haven't made an income the whole year, then that's not a real employment. So most of the time, self-employed people lack a proper documentation to prove that they either have who they are, but what they do, and that they have an income. And those are the three elements that are always a challenge. And most self-employed are able to do it. You just might have to get creative. And as far as the other person on the June 2nd, there must be a hold or something that's on there. Either, again, the most common problem with people being placed on hold is the lack of documentation. We have some people that just put in their claims and they put in no documentation at all. No IDs, no employer separation letters, no nothing, and they expect us to move forward with those claims. And we don't, we put holds on those, and we try to eventually call back to those people for them to provide those documents.
Got another one here. Why does it say the benefits were paid on the 25th and I still haven't received anything?
That's the system automatically generating a date, and that was something that was a part of the state side package. And the reason why we kept it in there is to show the claimant, when they do put in the claim, that they have no issues, because the system generated that it is that everything that you did was good and was available for payment. Mm-hmm. So eventually, when we get caught up with the initial claims, and as we'll be able to process those claimants and those weekly things on a more timely basis. Mm-hmm. And so it's mainly used for a tool for you to see that, yes, everything was clean and that it is going to be processed for payment.
What about another one here, some being paid with a partial check?
Partial check. Well, I can only try to figure it out.
Okay.
And the best thing I can do is, if they had a problem with their claims, let's say they put in for like 10 weeks, and they might have had an income for 6 weeks, and they probably didn't put everything in there, and our people saw that there was some questions, then they would put a hold on some of those weeks and release the back weeks. That could be a good reason. So you would get the weeks that you were clean, that maybe you were furloughed, and then the weeks that you were reduced in hours, that you went back to work, but maybe you didn't properly justify your income. They probably could have put a hold. That's one scenario.
Mm-hmm. We have another one. If working 2 part-time jobs but furloughed and eventually lost 1 part-time job, would I qualify for assistance even if I still have the other part-time employment?
Is that common from Senator Munia?
So, yes, you would qualify, because you are not at full employment. And when you apply, you would basically include all your income from your other part-time job, and it would be you would qualify if you fall under the threshold, the 494.
Right.
Okay. What if you are self-employed but at a loss and work part-time?
If you are self-employed and what?
If you are self-employed but at a loss and then work part-time, would you be eligible?
At a loss. If I understand the question right, is that I assume he took a part-time job to
that's
help
what it,
out?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, so that still would be considered, he lost his main job and he was surviving on a part-time job. So he would qualify, but he would just have to report all the income from the part-time job.
Okay. And just real quickly,
he would get a reduced amount.
Am I able to receive unemployment if my employer received PPP funds? I called unemployment and was told as long as I make below $4.94 a week, I still qualify for unemployment during the period I received my full pay with PPP funds. Wanted to clarify this before I apply for those additional weeks.
That's one of the biggest questions that people are misunderstanding. PPP funds is income, and if it's not my program, but if I understand, an employer that receives those funds can either pay your full salary or up to 2/3 of your salary in order to still qualify for the forgiveness. So if you are getting that funds and you're getting your full paycheck, whether you're a part-time worker or a full-time worker, but you get your usual full paycheck, then you wouldn't qualify. But if through PPP you got a reduced amount, not your normal income, weekly income, then you would have been affected. And it's a reduced, so therefore you would qualify. Then you would report it, and then that's when the 494 would come in. After all you report all your total income, If it's below the 494, then you would qualify for a reduced PUA and the FTOP.
All right.
We have one more here, Dave, if you could.
Sure.
If I got hired on February and I was supposed to start work on April 1st, 2020, couldn't work due to the pandemic, but started working in June, am I qualified?
So you were hired in February, but wasn't supposed to start to work all the way to April? Well, that's a long period, but yes, if you can have a letter from your employer that shows that you were supposed to be hired and work on this date, but then you were furloughed or laid off because of COVID, then that's one of the things that, yes, you would qualify. And then when you go start full-time work, then you would, of course, be ineligible if you went to full-time work in June.
All right. Well, thanks, Dave,
Yeah.
for coming on.
Yeah.
Any final comments before you get your day started?
Yes, I just want to state that I hear everybody's frustrations about calling the 311. They're doing the best they can. They're just inundated, and we will be starting to add more people as these teams of that I've spoke of start to. We can, disband those as far as going out and cleaning claims and stuff like that. We can shift them over, and we can build up and make those a little bit more robust so that we can get more people's calls in and fix those problem claims. That is something that I am trying to address, and I do hear your calls from that. Thank you guys for allowing me to come on.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Dave.
Yeah, maybe we could get you on one more time towards the end of the week with another update, if you could.
No problem. Just got to ask me.
I will. Thank you. Wash your hands.
Take care.
Okay.
Wear a mask.
I will.
Okay. Bye.
Thank
you. Dave Dell'Isola, Labor Director. Thank you, Dave, for providing that opportunity and giving us a way to ask questions from our listeners. If you guys have questions, send them to our inboxes. We do check our inboxes. Our inboxes are overwhelmed, but we still respond and take note. I copy a lot of messages and put them on our chat so we can follow up when we do get the people that we need to get these answers from. So, keep it coming and we'll do our part. It's 7:32. We'll take a short break and come back with more of Containing COVID next. Good morning, Guam.
I'm Governor Lou Leon Guerrero.
Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings